I've got some Reddit stories up, and I'm booting up the first Minecraft world I've played in a good while. If you're trying to go to sleep or do some chores, just put this on in the background. And before anyone says it, no, I'm not an AI. While I read you these stories, my goal in game is to find a good place to put my base. All right, we've got a doozy for a first story. I'm with my boyfriend of 6 months, and I'm about to break up with him over a backpack, but I need to know if I'm overreacting. That is a crazy title. All right. My boyfriend Jacob and I have been together for half a year now. We met through mutual friends about 2 years ago. Jacob is a very laid-back guy, and maybe since I have a lot of anxiety, that attracted me to him. The past 6 months have been fun without incidents until now. I thought Jacob was a caring and thoughtful person, and I really saw a future with him. But now I'm reconsidering. Some background info. I have a backpack that is covered with patches. Before this happened, I had about 35 patches sewn on it. This is a project that I started when I was 14 and I needed a backpack for high school. Over the years, I collected patches from all the shows, concerts, and plays I've gone to. When I studied abroad and visited new cities and museums, gifts from friends and family, etc. When I was 20, the bottom of my backpack ripped out, so I got a new one and carefully removed and reattached the patches. I don't carry a purse. I carry this backpack literally every day. It might seem silly, but a lot of my personal history and favorite memories are tied to this backpack. On Wednesday, Jacob and I were hanging out at my place watching Netflix with 2 mutual friends. My apartment has a much larger living room than his does, so we tend to hang out at my place. I had to work early Thursday morning, so I went to bed a little earlier and just told Jacob to lock up before he came to bed. The next morning, I go about getting ready for work and go to put some things in my backpack. That's when I notice it's missing patches, 11 to be precise. I immediately wake Jacob up, basically panicking, asking what happened. He told me that he had invited 3 of his friends over after I'd gone to sleep. Apparently, they texted him because they were bar hopping nearby and he told them to come over. At some point, one of them saw my backpack sitting in the living room and said it was cool and they wanted one like it. And Jacob told them that they could have some patches if they wanted. So they cut 11 off of my bag. I was livid. I still am. I can't really describe how betrayed I feel. A few of my patches were gifts from my father who passed away last year. He always loved helping me find new patches and bought me 3 limited release patches that are now very expensive and difficult to find. Those are all gone. I had one patch that my dad bought in 1994 and let me have. It's gone as well. Patches for my study abroad trip are gone too. I felt so devastated. I'm not proud of my reaction. I flipped the freak out. A lot of, what the frick were you thinking? And how could you do this? I told him he had to call his friends that were over and get all the patches back. He said that he would for the ones for my dad, but he would look too bad if he asked for the rest that didn't mean as much. I asked him if he cared more about looking like a jerk to them or to me. He hesitated and I freaked out and told him he had to leave. I messaged the people I know were over on Facebook and got a response back from one person, one of the mutual friends. He brought my patches back Thursday night. He said he thought it was weird that Jacob offered but went along with it, and he apologized. So now I only have 9 patches missing. I know it sounds silly, but I just feel so sick over it. I texted Jacob today about getting my dad's patches back, and he just said he was going to contact them on the weekend. What's even the point of waiting? I talked to a couple close friends about what happened, and I told them I wanted to break up over this. They both saw this as an overreaction and that I should let it go and get more patches. Everyone seems to think that because patches are cheap, I shouldn't be so upset and should just forgive him. I need to know if I'm overreacting. My feelings are maybe I was being hysterical when I confronted Jacob and I didn't deal with it in the best way, but he hasn't been proactive about fixing the situation. He's only texted me once to tell me he was contacting his friends on the weekend. I'm so frustrated and hurt, and I'm not sure how I will trust him again after this. And before anyone asks, he absolutely knew what this backpack meant to me. Once, when we were about a month into dating, he asked me to give him the backstory to each patch, and he sees me carry it every day. Okay, that story is absolutely absurd. What kind of jerk gives away other people's stuff? That's actually insane. And the fact that he played it down afterward too, he showed no remorse. And the fact that he was like, oh, I'm not going to ask for the other ones back that you didn't get from your dad because you really didn't want to seem like a jerk to them. Did he not realize he was offering them somebody else's patches? Who would even take him up on that offer? I'm not necessarily blaming his friends, but I don't think they're innocent either. And the way she talked about it, it sounded like some of these were souvenirs. So maybe you could get them cheap, but you'd have to fly back to that place. But in my opinion, it doesn't matter how much it costs. You don't give away other people's stuff. I think that crosses the line and shows his true colors. But the original poster actually gave an update 2 months later. This is actually crazy. I broke up with a guy who did something similar to me. Post got deleted. It comes down to respect. Even if it's just material items, I found that my ex didn't really respect me. Luckily, I got all my patches back. I tried to update here, but it got removed. Whoa, and we have a 10-year update as well. Responding to the top comments for visibility. This was me. I'm surprised I could still log into this account. After all, it was a throwaway. It's been so long since this happened. Through the course of everything, I learned that my ex was not laid back. He just didn't give a frick. Those are very different things. I did get all of my patches back. A few people were very apologetic and immediately went out of their way to return them. A few people, I had to show up at their place with a friend in tow. Looking someone in the eyes and saying, "You have a patch that my dead father gave to me when I was 14, worked pretty dang well. Because all of them blamed my ex, it's okay. I blame him too. He never truly apologized. He just wanted me to be less mad without fixing anything. I was very passive then, and I don't think that I had ever been as angry as I was in that moment. I went scorched earth and told everyone what he did. He was mad about that, but I did not care. He shouldn't have done it if he didn't want me to talk about it. A few of my friends apologized for taking his side, but our friendship wasn't even really the same after that. Months after this went down, my sister and I were going through a storage unit of my dad's to clear it out. We found one of his old backpacks. Nothing special, just a JanSport. I cleaned it out, and that was the new base. I still have it to this day, and I added some new patches since. Dang, what a happy ending to that story. But yeah, screw that guy. I feel like so many people try to act nonchalant, but they're really just lousy dudes that don't really give a crap. And if you ask me, we're in an era where being chalant is the only way to stick out. Every dude wants to be that nonchalant guy. I personally think a lot of guys just use it to mask their anxiety. Honestly, I think my position has softened against the friends. After all, they were literally told they could take the patches. You never know, because they were friends with this pretty scummy guy. I got a fridge lockbox, and it's destroying my relationship. Some background info. My boyfriend, 28 male, and I, 25 female, have been together for 5 years. We've lived together for 3 of them. Our relationship is great, truly. We have a joint account we contribute to monthly to handle joint expenses, rent, groceries, etc. Everything else is split. My boyfriend is 6'3", 200 pounds, and works out daily. He eats a lot to keep up his calorie intake, which is fine, except for this one issue. We buy snacks, and he always eats my half before I can even get to it. Normal food and ingredients he's fine with, but if it's quickly accessible, I'll never get any. We argue, he apologizes, rinse and repeat. This is literally the only bad thing he's done. Seriously, in all other aspects of our relationship, he's respectful and considerate. Snacks are where all bets are off. Anyways, last week I lost it after he finished an expensive cheese we had gotten that I was really looking forward to eating. It was gone after an hour. I lost my crap. I didn't speak to him for a day and ended up ordering a fridge lockbox. After our next snack run, a couple of days later, I divided each snack in half and locked mine in the lockbox. From his reaction, you'd think I was murdering puppies. He said it was disrespectful and controlling, and how dare I keep food that he paid for from him. When I reminded him my money went into it too, he screamed that he didn't give a frick and then left. He slammed my door so hard, a picture fell off the wall and broke. He didn't come back until the next day, but that was to change for work and leave immediately. He came home late and went straight to the guest room. 4 days of this. I broke last night and asked him to please talk about it, and he said that he had nothing to say to me until I got rid of the lockbox. Honestly, I'm completely appalled at this reaction, and I'm genuinely worried he might be on drugs or having a mental break or something. This is the most irrational I've ever seen a grown man act. He's ignored me only to randomly ask if I've gotten rid of the lockbox. I am not getting rid of the lockbox. We're supposed to renew our lease next week. I'm considering cutting my losses and just leaving. Is this relationship even worth salvaging? Is there anything I can do to solve this? He is refusing to communicate unless I get rid of the lockbox, which is not happening. It's crazy that this guy thinks he can just eat her share of the food that she paid for. You can tell he's not just accidentally eating her share of the food when he's intentionally not speaking to her until she removes the lockbox, allowing him to eat her food. She said she had a healthy relationship before this, but I seriously doubt it. I feel like she just wasn't seeing the signs. Anyways, they did give an update about 2 days later. Here's what they wrote. Hey guys, I don't know if anyone wanted an update, but here it is. A lot happened. My boyfriend kept staying out late and refusing to talk. So I tried to talk to my boyfriend about the lockbox again, and I mentioned that I didn't think the lockbox was a real issue. But he was a brick wall. insisted that it's abusive and controlling to deny him food. The food that she paid for? Anyways, I kept pushing and asked if he was on drugs or cheating. I said him flipping out over something so small and staying out all hours was suspicious as hell. I said that I thought he was using the lockbox as an excuse to be out of the house doing something bad. Me saying that unleashed an hours-long screaming tantrum that ultimately resulted in him throwing my MacBook against the wall and shattering it. Honestly, I really thought he was gonna hurt me. So yeah, I called my dad, who called the cops. I don't want to get too into the legality of it, but I'm pressing charges for destruction of property. It was a $2,500 laptop. My dad and my godfather moved me out yesterday, and now I'm looking for a new place. I don't have a lot except for clothes and a couple kitchen appliances. I left the lockbox, but took my snacks with me because frick him. I left it locked too. My ex-boyfriend has been spamming me. I'd block him, but I feel like I need this for evidence in case his behavior escalates. I texted him the first night that we were done, took our photos down and everything. He began ranting at me. Some gems were raging about how I still didn't get rid of the lockbox, asking for stuff he gifted me back, telling me I owe him money and rent for his new place, that I owe him a car. I have no idea why he would say this. I've never even driven his current car. That my MacBook was old and worthless and he wouldn't pay for a new one. I bought it last year brand new. After about an hour, I guess he realized that we were actually broken up. Then came the paragraphs about how he was going to marry me, about how he loves me and how he wants to do better for me, that I can keep the gifts and he'll buy me a better MacBook. He freaked out over seeing our pictures down on social media. He then started sending me screenshots of his Google searches of engagement rings and telling me to pick one. He also sent a couple voice messages of him just sobbing. Any respect I had for him as a person is just completely gone. Yeah, I wonder why. I want nothing to do with this man. I don't care if he's having a breakdown or on something. He's not my problem. I screenshotted his messages and forwarded them to his mother. She can deal with her own son. That's the most I'll ever do for him again. As for me, I'll be okay. I have some savings, so taking on full rent for a place, as well as deposits and fees, won't be too much. This has been a weird week. I feel like I should be sad, but like I said, I lost all respect and don't feel anything but disdain for him. My parents have been buying me my favorite comfort snacks and being super supportive. They're gently pushing for therapy, and I think it's probably a good idea. I'll start my search once I'm settled in a new place. Dude, it's actually crazy how fast the guy switched up on her the second he realized that it was actually done. Going from hurling insults and ranting over text to telling somebody to pick an engagement ring is the craziest switch I've ever seen. But yeah, overall, it's pretty clear this guy basically had no emotional maturity in any way. So I don't know how she didn't realize sooner. Okay, this one escalates a lot, but I promise it ends happy. My husband got a paternity test on our daughter and it came back negative, but I never cheated. Now he thinks our relationship is a lie and wants a divorce. What do I do? I don't know how it happened and I haven't been able to stop crying all day. I never cheated. I love my husband. We've been together since college and he's the love of my life. He's handsome and kind, and while I've slept with 2 other people, both were before we got together. There's no other potential father for our daughter. We were married already and actively trying for a baby. I never cheated. I never would cheat. And I don't know why he took that stupid test because I would never, ever cheat. But he came back negative and now he thinks he's not her father. I don't know how to convince him it was a faulty test and I'm so scared. These past few months, it's like he's become someone completely different from the man I married. He's cold and suspicious. He kept demanding to see my phone and wouldn't tell me why. And I showed him at first, but eventually told him that I wouldn't anymore unless he explained why. He's been distant with our daughter too. He stays in his office for hours on end, and I don't know what he's doing. I did not cheat. He accused me this morning, saying he'd done the test, and after realizing that our daughter's eyes are brown, wouldn't naturally come from ours both being blue, and that he wanted to get me out of the house. I didn't leave and he locked me out of our bedroom, and now I'm in my daughter's room. This is terrifying. What should I do? Edit. The specific advice I want is how I can prove that I'm innocent and how to make sure this relationship works. I want to keep my family together at all costs. Also, I just had a conversation with my husband. He's out of his room now, and we discussed some things. I told him again that I would never cheat and started talking about a list I made of tests I want done, but he told me that he didn't want to hear it right now. We're going to have a long conversation tomorrow, and he said that he still loves our daughter and he won't try to keep me out of the house or our room for now. I asked him to hug me, and he did. I'm scared that I won't be able to convince him. I just want our family to go back to normal. How can I be a good wife and support his needs while proving my innocence? And then they gave an update. Hi everyone. First off, I want to thank everyone who reached out. My original post got so much attention, it was hard to get to everything. But I ended up making a list of plans and tests I wanted to get done. My husband was understandably distrustful of me for a while, but he apologized for the way he acted, which I didn't need, and said that he wouldn't try to kick me out of our home. He did say, though, that if every test came back and I cheated, then he was going to go scorched earth. We did a few tests, blood paternity tests for him and me and our daughter, and we had an appointment with a chimerism specialist coming up, but they got canceled because, well, some of you guessed it, my daughter is not biologically mine either. I don't know how this happened, but a police officer came to our house and took our statements, and we're suing the hospital where I gave birth. I don't know what happened to my baby, and this is terrifying. I have my husband back, but my whole world was still upended, and I just wish he'd never taken that stupid test. I've been sleeping in my daughter's room, and I'm so afraid that she's going to be taken from me. But at the same time, I want to know where my biological daughter is, and if she's okay. I pray to God she's okay. My daughter still doesn't know the details, and we've been trying to keep this quiet. The last thing we need is a big scandal. I don't want people who know us to look at her differently. She deserves better than that. She's such a good kid, and she's not some spectacle to be gawked at. If we can find her birth family, I have no idea what we'll do. I guess the best case scenario would be to get a bigger house and all live together, but I don't know if I can afford that, or if they'd go for that, or even if we'll be able to locate them, or if I'm just crazy. This whole situation is crazy. I don't know anyone else who's been in a situation like this. I mean, are there support groups for parents of kids who got mixed up? I Googled and nothing came up. How do we tell our daughter? I mean, we can't tell her now. She'll tell the kids at school and then it'll be everywhere. But we have to say something. I don't know what I ever did to deserve this. Okay, but the husband actually gives an update. Let me just read it to you. Hello, everyone. So apparently a YouTuber my husband watches called Mark Narrations decided that it would be a fun idea to read my post on his channel. My husband recognized the story because, well, of course he recognized the story. How could he not? This doesn't happen every day. Then he went on my account page. Then he found quite a few comments about him that were not exactly nice. And now he's asked me for a chance to post his side of the story on this account so that people stop trashing him. Please be nice. So I don't know how many of you have been down a self-doubt rabbit hole before, but it's not the most logical place to be. It's even less logical when you have a whole darn internet telling you that your wife is cheating and that she's planning to take the house and take you for all you're worth and that she never really loved you and you always sort of thought she was too good for you anyway. So you end up seeing everything as a sign of infidelity and then you get not one, but 2 failed paternity tests on your daughter. When COVID happened, I got fat. I got depressed. I stopped feeling like a person. My wife stayed beautiful and she stayed herself. I was sure that she'd made a mistake, that she'd regret being with me. I started getting into some online groups, especially on Reddit, that were full of guys who'd been cheated on, lost custody, lost everything, and when someone said that his tip-off was that he and his wife both had blue eyes, but their son had brown, I felt freaking stupid. I did not want to jump to conclusions, but when I made a post about my fears, everyone said she was cheating. People said not to say anything because she'd use it to hide her cheating and get ahead of me on the divorce. I got the test and didn't really think it'd come back negative. Then it did. I didn't want to believe it, but yeah, I pulled back. I felt betrayed. I wanted to be a good husband, but I couldn't shake this. I tried to find evidence of an affair and failed. I got another test. When that one was also negative, I snapped. If you've ever been cheated on, you know what it feels like. When my wife denied it, I got angrier. I just wanted her to leave. I didn't want to go through what everyone seemed to think was going to happen. I didn't want to lose custody of my kid. I didn't want to lose my house. I was scared and angry, and I wanted the truth. I felt like if she couldn't even be honest, there was no getting past this. I took a few hours to calm down. When she came back with a list of tests to take, I tried to keep my cool. I tried to keep my cool for so long. I know I was wrong about the affair, but so is everyone else in my ear. My kid is genuinely not biologically mine. I didn't immediately consider that switched at birth was an option. I've been through a messed up time, and I don't think getting angry one time because I thought my wife cheated and was lying about it makes me a monster. And then she ended it off. Hi, it's OP again. I wanted to say that 1, I agree that he's not a monster, an abuser, or anything of that sort. And 2, I do not agree that he's fat. I love this man very much and have for ages, and we're not going to let this situation break our marriage. Thank you to everyone for all your help. Man, what a wholesome ending to that story. I mean, yeah, it's natural for these guys to villainize the husband, but if you really think about what he was going through, he was in a really rough state of mind. It's not surprising that he behaved the way he did, and honestly, it's just a sad situation that they had to deal with. Okay, luckily, that one did end well, but this next one did not end so well. I recently discovered that my boyfriend of 4 years has been keeping a blog mocking my business. This is probably going to be a controversial post, as I know Reddit isn't very fond of any religions, especially not ones that aren't mainstream. That might be a weird way of putting it, so I apologize if that offended anybody. I really, truly don't want to. When my abuela died, I inherited the keys to her long-standing Botanica. For anybody who doesn't know, that is a shop that is run by Latinos whose purpose is to sell religion, esoterica things. I hope I pronounced that correctly. We sell the 7-day candles you'll see at memorial sites, herbs, oils, statues, books, services, etc. These are all things I grew up surrounded by and things that mean the world to me. I love them. To me, the scent of Florida water and Hoyt's cologne are home. I took Mrs. classes to run the shop properly, and it's a successful business. We profit off it nicely, and we made some changes over the years, including services that you can't get at shops around us. We care deeply for all our customers. I spend about 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. there every single day, and it's like going to my other home. My boyfriend, Thomas, works from home. He does tech work and things like that. He's always been a huge supporter of my business because he knows how much it means to me. He knows it's a part of my cultural heritage, of my life, and my ancestors and my family. He also knows that I don't 100% believe in the things we do. I believe in many of them, but I'm not hard-boiled religious and don't adhere to many religious rules. That's enough backstory. Well, the other day, I made us some breakfast. He finished very fast and went out for his morning jog. I asked him if I could use his computer to do a few things, since it was right there and I'm a slow eater. He agreed and just turned it over to me. He left on his run and I got to work. I just wanted to do a few accounting type things and also do some research for an upcoming trip we have to Havana. But when I opened his browser, several tabs were open. So I clicked a different browser so as not to disturb him, since I never know what's work and what's play with him. The other browser had one thing up. The blog. I noticed he didn't use the name of the shop, but there was a clear picture of it, and underneath there were probably 50 entries so far. I didn't go through and read them all because after I saw the first one, I got the idea. I got the idea clear as day. He was making fun of it. All of it. Everything. My heart shattered. He made fun of the customers, of some of the products we have. One of the things we're known for is an extensive collection of candles for different saints, orishas, and figures. He mocked some of the orishas in their candles and the novenas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if I am. What broke my heart the most is that he made fun of the one figure who I liked the most, who I don't want to mention because I don't want to offend. I keep a small home altar to the figure and tend to it carefully and with love. He makes fun of the altar and talks about how nonsensical it is and everything. The comments range from nothing to spam to dedicated followers who talk about his crazy girlfriend, how I'm absolutely nuts, and how he should run away. I was so stunned and absolutely hurt that I had to check how long ago he made it. I saved the address and read through all of it while I was at work and cried. I don't know how to address this with him. He's been keeping the blog for 2 years. My heart is shattered because our relationship has been nothing but love and smooth sailing. He never shared my spirituality with me, and it was never something that I requested of him. I even keep my altar out of view of respect for his own preferences. What do I do? How do we come back from this? To me, it's not just about the spirituality. I've grown up hearing people laugh at it and call it kooky and made up, strange and all of that. But it's my grandmother's business. It's my ancestry and it's my heritage. To me, he's mocking those directly. What do I do? That's actually crazy. So he just has zero respect for you at all? This is one of those things where it probably wasn't as good of a relationship as you thought. It just kind of seemed that way from the surface. There's a good chance this isn't the only thing he's hiding from you. And honestly, that's not a relationship I would stay in. They gave an update about a week later. I had my heart set on not just giving up and leaving. There were still some things we needed to talk about, so when I got home 2 days after I made that post and had time to think about it, I confronted him. I started off reading one of his posts off to him. He asked me how I found out. I was honest and told him. He started to get annoyed and asked me why I was snooping. I wasn't. And then he started up with his defense before I could even get a word in. He told me that he always had a hard time understanding how I could be part of something when there was no logic behind it. How could I take money from anyone knowing that that stuff is fake and everything? I let him say what he needed to say. I asked him, "Is that really how you feel?" And he said yes, and that he was happy to finally get it off his chest. He just insulted me, my beliefs, my family history, all of it, in the span of 20 minutes. I told him that if that's how he feels, he needs to leave. The place we live in was mine originally. He just moved in after we were dating for a while because it was easier. I didn't want to have to stoop that low, but living with someone who thinks that little of what I do in my business, the business that supported our very comfortable lives for all this time, isn't something I can compromise on. He asked me if I was breaking up with him because of this. that it was his right as an American with free speech to do what he's doing, and that I'm trying to censor him like all religious nuts do. Okay, I just want to stop it real quick. People misuse free speech all the time. Free speech has to do with the government. The government can't silence his voice. But that doesn't mean that you can't face consequences for what you say. If you say something completely out of line, your employer has every right to fire you. And your girlfriend sure as heck can dump you for what you say. That's not how free speech works, buddy. All right, let's continue with the story. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so I just asked him to leave. Over the next few days, he collected his things, and when he got out his last box, he told me that he would not come back, but that I could bet he would still be posting on his blog about my shop. I think the last thing I said was to have fun with his 15 blog readers. I'm really heartbroken over this and very sad it came to this. It's going to be a very long time before I try dating again. Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to salvage the relationship after that. I feel like finding something out like that should make you realize there really is nothing to salvage. I just don't know why you'd want to salvage something where they have no respect for you at all. I still can't get over the fact that he tried to enact his free speech. That's crazy, bro. All right, but on the topic of judgmental dudes, here's one that ends a little bit happier. My coworker won't stop complaining about my tattoos. I started a new job in December. Carol started in February. We work for a small company with 6 of us in production. We're not customer facing in any way. Carol was fine with me until the weather warmed up and I wore short sleeves, at which point she discovered that I have tattoos. She took me aside the same day to tell me how unprofessional she thought I was for having them. I pointed out that workplace norms are changing in general and that our particular workplace doesn't care. It didn't matter. They were unprofessional and that was that. For reference, we're both women in our 50s. Carol is actually 8 months younger than I am. I'm not the only one with ink, but I am the only woman, and the ship guys are in another building, so she probably doesn't realize that both of them do too. Since then, she had spoken to me repeatedly about them, and when I refused to engage, I started with briskly cheering, "So you've said, I disagree." Then, "You've said, and I'm not talking about this anymore." And now I'm just ignoring her muttering. She's taken to talking to herself about it. She also has gone to 3 other coworkers to complain about them. Those ladies are all seniors to us, but beyond keeping an eye on the production schedule, they're not supervisory in any way. We think she'd like to cover them, but she knows she doesn't have the standing to say that, and I don't have any reason to. They're not offensive. One said is flowers and the other is geometric paisley, and nobody here cares. I'm dreading summer. This is an elderly building in poorly air conditioned, and I'm told tank tops and shorts are the norm. She's going to be really wound out when she figures out the gauntlets she dislikes are actually full sleeves, plus the edges of a few others that I will show. Our HR person is very part-time and mostly for onboarding and benefit type things. I can go to our owner, who I think would be responsive, but his feels like something I should be able to handle on my own, and so far I'm having no luck. Can you provide any advice on a one last try script at shutting her down on the topic? Or should I just go straight to the boss lady? Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of people are still stuck in their ways about tattoos, and sure, it's unprofessional, but your job isn't even client-facing anyway, so why does it matter? It's not like you're going out of your way to bother them. I believe you mentioned that you're both in your 50s, and there's actually studies to show that older people are just more stuck in their way. Like, they're literally neurologically less open to new ideas. But they did give an update 3 weeks later, so let's read that. So the situation with Carol has been resolved. I actually spoke to her the same day you posted my letter. I ran into her in the break room and she started in again. I interrupted her and said, "That's enough. I've asked you politely and now I'm telling you, stop commenting on my tattoos. They don't come off and I'm not going to cover them. And they're not against the rules here. Your obsession with my skin is really weird and I don't appreciate it. This is the last conversation I intend to have with you about this." She was very taken aback that I thought she was being weird, but I didn't give her a chance to keep going. I just went back to work. She didn't speak to or about me for the rest of the week. By the next week, she had settled on stilted, pass the salt style conversations, but only if it was a group thing. She still wouldn't speak to me personally. Since we don't work on the same projects, this doesn't have any impact on my workflow. So I was okay with chilly silence. I beat the nagging for sure. Then we went on site to do an installation. We were warned that it would be hot and cramped, and to dress in layers we could shed. Of course, the inevitable happened. Carol and I ended up on different teams, and when we met for mid-morning team swap, most of us were down to a tank top, me included. Carol got one good look and flipped out. She berated me about my lack of professionalism in someone else's workplace, and caused enough of a ruckus that Jane came to see what was going on. Okay, I think that's the lady that's in charge, but I don't think I mentioned that. Carol went off on Jane about my continued and blatant lack of professionalism, but Jane shut her down pretty sharply. The teams were reshuffled as planned, and Carol got put on Jane's team. Apparently, she took that as an invitation to keep going and asked Jane why she hired me and then why she tolerated me. Jane's answer, I hired her for her skill, not her skin. Jane may be my new favorite boss. Then she accused Jane of a lack of professionalism for doing so. About an hour after the team swap, Joe, the other owner, came in the company car with the HR lady on her day off and took Carol back to the workshop. She apparently stewed all the way back, or read the handwriting on the wall. And when they got back, she got out of the car, declared that she couldn't continue to work for such an unprofessional organization, that she had her own reputation to look after, even if we didn't care about ours, got in her car and left. That was the last we've seen of her, although there has been a scathing review posted to Glassdoor since then. The next day, Jane had individual meetings with all of us, and the day after that, a workroom staff meeting. We, myself and 3 senior ladies that Carol had gone to complain to, were chastised for letting it go as far as it did without giving Jane a heads up. Even if it was a, this is a thing but I'm handling it, warning. The senior-most coworker pointed out that none of them really had any power to do anything, and that has now changed. There is now a designated workroom supervisor and an end of the week how are things check-in between that person and Jane. The workroom is a much calmer place now, and interviews for Carol's replacement start next week. Also, a formal tattoo, piercing, and hair color policy is being added to our employee handbook. Basically, anything goes as long as it's safe to have around machinery and not offensive. All in all, it's been a learning experience for all of us, I think. Thanks for your advice. I really appreciate the framework for my response to Carol. Dang, that was just one of those people that was not logical at all. Yeah, one comment said that's a weird hill to die on, and I absolutely agree. There's no reason to pin one person down as your absolute least favorite person just because they have unoffensive tattoos that they can't change now. If it's not even employee-facing and nobody's made a rule against it, how are tattoos unprofessional? It kind of seems like this is just an excuse that Carol gave to hate the original poster. Alright, I think I found the perfect place for a base, but I do need to clear out some space for it. So that's our next goal. Alright, and if you want to, try and guess what I'm building. Luckily, that situation did seem to resolve itself, but this next story is much stickier. HOA insists my sister and I are not a single-family household, and one of us should move out. We've lived together all our lives. I'm 21 and my sister is 19. We've lived in this house our entire lives. Our parents bought this house 27 years ago. They joined the HOA about 15 years ago. My dad died 5 years ago. Mom died 6 months ago. We're now the owners of this house. We've been visited by the HOA multiple times. They're citing that we're not a single-family house anymore since our mom has died. They've told us that according to the terms, only a single family can be residents in the homes, and being single family is defined as a person or couple and their legal unmarried children. This meant that my mom could live with me and my sister as it was a single family according to the definition, but me and my sister living here after our mom's death means that we are 2 families of single adults. They want one of us to move out so that this place becomes a single family home again. They visited us 4 times, now asking us to leave. They say they don't like to sue out of respect for our parents, but they will do that if we continue to refuse to comply the community rules. Can they kick us out of our own house? What should we expect and how can we fight this? Edit, location is in Washington State. Okay, that's actually absurd. Genuinely, HOA is where all the micromanagers go. It's so stupid to me. Look, I kind of understand safety codes and stuff like that, but trying to kick people out of their own home is just absurd. They're saying, oh, we don't want to sue out of respect for your parents, but you're still trying to kick them out. They're also giving you an ultimatum, so how is that not wanting to sue out of respect? They're just saying, we're going to sue if you don't do this, which in my opinion is not different. This was posted to r/legal advice, so I want to see what people said. Someone said, if you want to be proactive, go to the county's record office and ask for help in this matter. Specifically, ask for help finding the HOA bylaws that your house is subject to. The HOA bylaws should be of record there. Many counties also allow you to access these records online as well. Someone else said, sounds like someone in your neighborhood wants to force you out so they can buy your house. I call BS on their part. Okay, nearly 3 months later, the original poster gave an update. TLDR of the original post. After our mom died, people from HOA came to me and my sister and told us that we're no longer a single family and one of us needs to leave. So I first confirmed that they're from the HOA, not just some people harassing for the fun of it. We also got the CC&R of the HOA, which included a clause about single family and its weird definition. If included, partners, children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents, step-parents, stepchildren, uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, children of uncles and aunts, children of nieces and nephews, but no siblings. It even had a clause that said coworkers are not allowed to live there unless they're a single family based on the definition. We also received a letter from them telling us our violation and demanding us to comply. My sister and I went around the neighborhood and gave copies of the terms and the letters we received to everyone and told them, imagine you die tomorrow. Do you want them to kick out your kids? Because they're doing this to us. They will do it to your kids as well. Help us stop them. We gathered signatures and had almost everyone contact the president and demand that this should be stopped. Within 2 weeks, we received a letter that says this has been a mistake with an apology. We learned that this HOA is horrible to everyone, not just us. So there are now people preparing to run for the HOA board to replace the current members, and they're promising to have a referendum about whether the HOA should be dissolved or not, because it really is doing nothing of substance except being a pain in the butt for everybody. Man, I'm glad they got that resolved. I still don't understand why they had a clause for no siblings. It makes me wonder if that was put in there just specifically for them. I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone kind of pulling the strings in this HOA group just on a power trip. Yeah, someone said it feels like the HOA president or members wanted the house for themselves. And someone said this is actually relatively common. They knew the kids wouldn't be able to just get up and move out, and so they'd start accumulating fines that they couldn't possibly hope to stay. And the HOA would eventually seize and auction the house off, and whoever was really behind all this bullcrap would buy it for a song and dance and rent it out. Yeah, there's no way that's legal, right? Oh my gosh, that's genuinely so messed up. Okay, I think that one gave me a migraine. Let's move to some simpler drama. My girlfriend, 32 female, has been very sad since she found out her ex-boyfriend is getting married. So I, 30 male, have been dating my girlfriend for about 4 months now. Everything was going great till she learned that her ex-boyfriend of 9 years was getting married. They had broken up in June last year, and we started dating in July this year. We have tons in common, and we really enjoy each other's company. Anyways, last week, one of her old friends who knew her ex informed my girlfriend that he was getting married to his new girlfriend. My girlfriend was shocked to say the least. And when her friend left, she went on Facebook and spent almost an hour looking through his profile. Okay, he was a longtime boyfriend, so she must have been curious, but ever since that day, she has been really sad and stressed, and keeps spending her time on Facebook looking through everything about her ex and his bride-to-be. When I finally asked if he was the one who got away from her, she denied it. She said something along the lines of, "I want to see what's special about her." She says she isn't pining for him, he didn't treat her well, and that even if he asked her, she wouldn't go back. In fact, he had reached out to her multiple times after breaking up, but she turned him down every time. So Reddit, my question is this. If you don't love him still, then why would you be so sad about his marriage? Why keep obsessing over his bride-to-be? What am I missing here? Okay, that is kind of a sticky situation, but how do you know she's sad? She didn't explicitly say it, and you're kind of just reading her. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you can't really jump to conclusions. After all, they did date for about 9 years, so it's normal to be curious, but it does seem like that's gotten to an unhealthy level. But the fact that this guy turned to Reddit makes it pretty clear it's becoming an issue in his eyes. Here's what one of the top comments said. He strung her along for 9 years and is marrying the girl he only recently met. That's probably where her sadness is coming from. Why wasn't she good enough to garner a commitment like marriage? What does this girl have that she doesn't? Not logical, but that's probably what's running through her mind. I'd honestly have to agree with that. But the next day, they gave an update. Here's what they wrote. So I got a lot of advice on my last post. Thank you. Most of it was helpful, and a lot of commenters detailing their own personal and painful experiences with similar situations. It was an eye-opening experience for me. So a special thanks to those commenters. Some comments were regular Reddit advice to break up, and one of them even called me a cucumber. Okay. But all in all, this post did really help me a lot in deciding how to approach this with my girlfriend. So anyways, now let's get on with the actual update. After reading the comments and doing some thinking, I decided the best course of action is to talk to her. So I went to her favorite restaurant, got her favorite dish packed, and then went to her apartment. When she came out, I told her, look, I can't say I understand what you're going through because I don't. It's something personal to you, and as much as I would like to help you out or share some of your grief, I respect your choice and decisions. But as your boyfriend, I do have some rights here, and I'm invoking that right and asking you to not be hungry and sad. If you want to be sad, then please be sad on a full stomach filled with your favorite food. That's all I ask. Hearing this, she became emotional. Then she said, I haven't been the best girlfriend in the world for the past week, and I apologize for that. It's just that it's been hard for me to see someone with whom I spent 9 years of my life and who gave me a lot of excuses. Now he's just disregarding his own statements. Can you imagine anyone in a 9-year-old relationship where the couple doesn't live together or go on holidays together? They have absolutely no talk about getting engaged or married. Hell, even got upset if I sent him a text while he was working. Well, me and my ex were like that. On top of that, he always used to say that marriage as an institution is archaic and he won't participate in it. He also looked down upon age gap relationships too. Now he's marrying someone 8 years younger than him and is already living with her and gone on holidays together too. That's why I've been feeling down. I don't want him back. I already have upgraded to a much higher level. She meant me. But it's just the feeling of wasting 9 years of my life, which is the most painful part. So I gave her a hug and told her that if she wanted a shoulder to cry on or a mouth to talk crap about her ex, I can do both. So we both shared a laugh then. When I was leaving, she asked if she could stay with me for a few days as she doesn't want to be alone. I said sure. So she came with me, and right now she's setting up her workstation in my other bedroom while I'm making this update. She will be staying with me the whole week. So thank you again, people. You've been an immense help. Okay, after hearing her side of the story, it's starting to make a lot more sense. I'm a young guy, so I can't really comprehend how much 9 years of your life spent in a relationship really is. But by her age, this relationship lasted a third of her life. So even if she was moved on, there's still going to be some emotional attachment. Even if she was moved on from him as a person, finding out how much he actually lied to you would still feel like a statement about you as a person. So it's totally fair that she's truly moved on, but still feels emotionally wrecked from something like that. Because her ex basically flipped on all the things he told her. The fact that he didn't want to get married, the fact that he didn't believe in age gaps, and the part about living together or going on holidays together. Okay, we've had some really heavy stories, so I say we end it on a high note. My brother-in-law is making claims that he knows my secret, and I don't understand. My brother-in-law, 30 male, is my sister's 29 female husband. We live on opposite sides of the country, and my sister and I aren't that close, so I'd say that we don't know each other very well. We see each other at family gatherings, maybe a few times a year, and he's always come off as a very average, kind of quiet guy. Around 2 months ago, I received a text from him out of the blue. It wasn't to check up on me or ask how I'm doing. The message said he's aware of what's going on, but that there was no need for me to worry, and he'd keep it hush-hush. I wrote a quick message back asking what on earth he meant, but all I received back was another reassurance that I had nothing to worry about, and that he was on my side. At that point, I gave up and assumed it was some weird joke, even though my brother-in-law has always been pretty serious. Recently, I was in a Zoom call with my parents and sister. The first thing my sister asked when she saw me was, "Are you going to tell everyone the truth or just my husband?" Okay, all right. Obviously, I was confused and I mentioned the text message my brother-in-law sent me, but my sister still seemed angry at me and I have no idea why. The next day, I called my brother-in-law and asked him what the hell is going on with this. He was very cagey on the phone and just kept repeating rhetorical questions back at me like, "Do you know what's going on?" Wait, what? Why is bro asking that? I'll admit that I lost my temper at one point and snapped at him, since he wasn't giving me any answers. That was a bad idea, since this morning I got a new text from my brother-in-law telling me that he'd tried to do me a favor that I clearly don't appreciate. He mentioned, "We'll see what happens this weekend," which is the next time we're all meeting for a late Thanksgiving. Honestly, I'm terrified. The thing is, I have no idea what secret my brother-in-law could possibly be talking about. I don't live a very exciting life, and I mostly keep to myself. There's still a part of me that's scared of whatever truth he says he's about to reveal, even though I don't think I've done anything wrong. What do I do? Okay, does bro think he's Sherlock Holmes or something? This is actually crazy. I feel like there's not much to judge off of, and it's really hard to tell what this guy even thinks is going on. Okay, one Tom comment said, "My first thought was that you might have a vindictive ex who posted explicit photos of you online or something. But that shouldn't make your sister mad at you, unless she's mad that her husband went looking for explicit photos online, and it's easier to be mad at you than him. Second thought is that an adult actor out there looks kind of like you, and maybe he thinks he has blackmail material because he's an idiot. In any case, since your brother-in-law is clearly devoted to being a butthole, call your sister. What the hell is your idiot husband doing? He's been sending me messages for months and keeps some secret quiet. I have no freaking idea what he's talking about, but it sounds like he told you. So would you mind cluing me in?" Yeah, to be fair, if his sister knows, he should really ask her because this guy's brother-in-law does not sound like he's going to tell him. Also, he doesn't sound like he was trying to do him a favor to begin with. If he says, "I know your secret," but the second the original poster asked what it is, he instantly turns on him. That doesn't sound like his intentions were benign to begin with. Okay, 16 days later, we have an update. Hi, everyone. Just before Thanksgiving, I posted about my brother-in-law harassing me over a secret. Well, Thanksgiving came and I was terrified. I almost backed out entirely and stayed in bed all day instead of going to the Zoom meeting. So they had Thanksgiving over Zoom? I feel like that's kind of odd. I did end up going in the end, and the first 20 minutes were incredibly awkward. My family and I aren't really compatible at the best of times, but there were silences that lasted minutes. Eventually, my mom gave in and said, we'd better get this over with. Oh no. So they already know about it, I guess. I've never been more terrified in my life. I somehow snapped my phone case in half because I fidget with things when I'm nervous. My brother-in-law started talking about how he tried to keep my secret for me, but I clearly wasn't grateful. Okay, what a piece of crap. He did not try to keep you secret. Since when is keeping someone's secret contingent on their gratefulness? Anyways. And then he told everyone, you should know that she's gay. Whoa. Everything got really awkward again, except for a different reason. My whole family already knows I'm gay. I have no idea how brother-in-law never found out before now. I don't get on with my family, but me being gay has never been one of our issues. It's something nobody bothers me about, and we don't talk about it. My sister lost it with him immediately and said, really? This is what you've been going on about? Oh, so the brother-in-law was just telling his family, I have something massive to tell you, but didn't tell them what it was yet. So they thought they were getting ready for some massive secret to spill. That's anticlimactic. We ended up ending the Zoom call very early since my parents decided they were tired. But I think both just didn't want to deal with this anymore and were sick of me and my brother-in-law. I've decided to block my brother-in-law's number in my phone since other than that, we had no messages anyway, and I'm not going to be visited by my sister anytime soon. Dang, it's kind of sad that this guy's relationship with his family is really not that good. But honestly, why did his sister marry such a weirdo? It's crazy. He really thought he found such a jarring secret and then held it over his head like blackmail, but posed it as being nice. But in the end, it's good to see that nothing bad came of it. And honestly, I don't blame this guy for cutting this guy out of his life. Alright, if you can't tell already, I'm trying to build some sort of wizard tower. But we are out of Reddit stories, so if you want to see what it's going to look like, you'll have to come back next time.